Coming up on this week's edition, the shift in mobile phone prices and what this portends for the economy. Also in the program, exploring the Android phone and the possibilities it has opened up to software developers and mobile phone users. Good evening and welcome to this edition of KTN Business Weekly. I'm Michael Oyer. Mobile phone prices have undergone the lowest drop over the last few months among the basket of goods that comprise inflation. This has not just kept inflation down, but has had a significant impact on how mobile phone subscribers talk to each other in and out of the country, as well as in business. While the good has been said and is out there, some operators and analysts warn that the country should not be so consumed in the excitement as to suffer the ugly side of mobile phone price wars. Well, our feature looks at mobile phone growth, the drop in prices, and what to look out for not to disrupt the benefits being enjoyed.
It is now common for mobile phone users in Kenya and indeed Africa to start off their days by talking to friends and relatives over their mobile phones. This would have cost them an arm and a leg in the past decade, not to mention hours of mind-numbing complications of the old system and lack of reliability. The ease of communication has been facilitated by the inexorable march of technology, which means that services very few people dreamt of accessing in the past are now available to everyone. That a tectonic shift now seems to have occurred in the industry is, however, not good news to everyone and is generating debate. The downward shift in mobile telephone calling rates now becoming a cause for concern for some.
The prices started coming down from November 2009 when you brought AMUA 6 into the marketplace. At that point in time, the prevailing prices were 15 shilling a minute and 20 shillings a minute, depending on which operator is offering what.
The move by ESA through its brand U to slash prices by half back in 2009 now seems to have been an inkling of what was to come. The recent move by Airtel to slash calling rates to a bare minimum of a shilling a minute is what has shaken the industry to its roots. While customers have praised it, industry players and competitors roundly condemned it as unviable. Airtel, though, has remained unfazed and maintained that their radical decision was informed by underlying fundamentals of the industry.
After 11 years of telecommunications, or close to 12 years of telecommunications or mobile telephony in this country, 80% of rural Kenya is still not connected to mobile phones, right? So you have 80% of the rural Kenya, which is at the same time 70% of this country's population, not having access to voice, SMS, and needless to say, data. Okay, so those two facts, all right, and realities of this country combined together, okay, put us in a situation where affordability really becomes the main driver, okay, for us to, take this market forward, all right, and really change the social reality of this country.
According to research conducted by the industry regulator, the Communication Commission of Kenya, CCK, few industries can match the exponential growth in the mobile telephony industry since the beginning of the last decade. The industry opened the decade with a subscriber base of just 85,000 and closed the decade with 22 million subscribers, representing an annual growth rate of 66%. Even in the face of such staggering statistics, evidence suggests that this exponential growth was hampered by a variety of factors, and that penetration and subscriber number growth was much slower in rural areas, where incomes are much lower than in urban areas.
And the reason why affordability is important for us is because, number one, we want to address a social need, all right, for which I'll share with you some facts. 50% of the population today lives under the poverty line. Okay, that's close to 20 million people living with less than 80 shillings a day, all right? And with that 80 shillings, they have to basically have education, health, communication, clothing, house, and so on. So it's a population who probably actually do not have access, okay, to the basic needs that they should be able to address like any other human being, right?
Before the year 2000, penetration of mobile phone services was hampered by barriers such as the high cost of handsets and high calling charges. The subsequent creation of Safaricom and its surprise offering to the market, per second billing, turned the market on its head and nearly drove the incumbent, then Telecom Kenya, out of the market. The resulting debate on per second and per minute billing prompted most subscribers to shift to the perceived lower-cost provider Safaricom, which, together with innovative marketing and other business development initiatives, enabled it to become the unrivaled market leader, with a market share in excess of 80%. Over a decade later, the service provider now seems to have been caught napping, with none of the characteristic flair and innovation that was the hallmark of the market leader a decade earlier. Many observers note that it would seem that what the new kid on the block is doing to the incumbent has a lot of similarity to what Safaricom did to Telecom Kenya over 10 years ago.
I think this is something which is true for all the markets. Okay, whenever there is a single player, whenever there is an incumbent who does not have the right kind of opposition, right kind of competition, they tend to become lethargic in terms of innovating themselves, in terms of keeping themselves contemporary. Whenever the competition comes up, competition always comes up with something which is not being delivered by the existing operator and try and offer that particular USP to the subscribers. Okay? But look at the fact, the same player who came in 10 years back, bringing in per second billing, making affordability so easy, okay, is now crying foul when somebody else is coming in making same service more affordable.
By driving affordability, okay, what is happening is that mobile penetration is increasing. If you go back to June 2010, the mobile penetration was as low as 34%. In only 6 months, as of end of December last year, mobile penetration increased by 6 percentage points, from 34% to 40%. And when I talk about these numbers in terms of penetration, I'm talking about individuals, Kenyans, all right, being part of the mobile industry today, not SIM cards.
Not everyone is buying in on this rosy outlook. Market leader Safaricom has refused to budge, terming the current pricing strategies unsustainable and unviable. The operator refuses to be drawn out.
People have moved their prices. We've made our position clear that we're not moving. Certainly not for now. The time will come when the price will come down. The price comes down over time. So we've made our position clear, and I think it's for the industry to kind of find its way here.
The question on most people's lips has been the perceived negative knock-on effects on revenues, both for companies and the economy.
They ask all operators, they see others, what is the EBITDA? Negative. Okay, that means we are losing money. When I say we, not only us, the other one.
When you run into a price war or downward spiral of prices, it's just like the opposite of inflation, which is upward movement of prices. So this way, you squeeze the margins of the businesses. And when you squeeze the margins, they have to cut costs. And obviously, one of the costs to be cut is employment.
Conversely, though, it would seem that increased mobile penetration and cheaper calling rates free up cash that would be spent on other parts of the economy, while the knock-on effect on industry and the informal economy would more than offset any shortfall in tax revenues.
Now, by increasing mobile penetration, okay, employment gets affected in the right way. You see more informal business being created. You see more dukas, freelancers selling airtime, selling SIM cards, basically helping the employment of a country, the informal employment of a country grow. The second element is inflation. Okay, if you look at the GDP growth projection for this year, the government is projecting a growth of about 5.5%, while the inflation will be close to 4.5%. So the real growth is obviously minimum, driven mainly by inflation. Now, we did an internal analysis, and if you remember, mobile telephony became part of the basket of goods to calculate the consumer price index only in March last year. We did an analysis whereby we concluded that for any 25% reduction in tariffs in the mobile industry, the inflation of the country gets reduced by 1%.
Research shows that there is indeed a direct correlation between penetration and GDP growth, although this has been termed unreliable by players who quote the Kenyan case.
There is a study done by the GSM Association which establishes that for every 10% increase in mobile penetration, the GDP of the country increases by 1.2% in emerging markets. Okay? Now, Kenya being an emerging market, a country in underdevelopment, That 1.2% increase in gross domestic product translates to 60 billion shillings into the economy of a country.
Okay, before Telecom arrived, the market is around 9 million subscribers. Okay, today is 22. That means we grow 2007, 2008, 2009, 2003, etc. We multiply by 3 or 2.5 our database. That means 250%. How much your GDP increase? Tell me, show me. Just proof. I am not the ICT. I am not the GSM thinking. Today you have fact. Analyze it. 2007 is 9 million, I think so. Today we are 22 million. Do you think you increase GDP of Kenya by 5%, 10%, 30%? I'm not sure.
While the case for low prices for mobile telephony is indeed justified, with the real possibility of even lower prices going forward, evidence of lack of a level playing field and obstacles to entrance and entrenchment by competitors exist, necessitating drastic measures such as those exercised by Airtel in order to gain a foothold. Experts advocate a playing field geared towards creating competition.
It's not sustainable in the long run, and it's not good for the economy. There is a case, okay, for lower prices, but there is a limit to beyond which we shouldn't go, because as I said, you squeeze the margins, and therefore you are squeezing the businesses out of business. That's where now the regulators may need to seriously think of the future, because if the entry points are the one barring many competitors coming in, and then they will need to do something about it, such that they widen the market in terms of competitors. Because as with many competitors in their phone, then it means nobody has a monopoly or a sort of monopolistic power to dictate the terms of doing business.
Price war is the price to decrease is normal, but we cannot sell it at our cost. Why is the role of the CCK to make the policy of the country? Because imagine today you have the right to buy cars, but if every day I'm facing injunction, some problem. Believe me, if we don't have a policeman, I put 1 hour to come here. When I have policeman, you have smooth traffic. This is our objective. CCK is the policeman of the regulation to protect the consumer first. Second one, to protect the investors, to be sure when we invest the money is viable and sustainable.
Fears that the drastic lowering of prices could cause loss of subscribers remain unfounded. It is interesting to note that although there were initial fears that Airtel would eat into Safaricom's market share significantly, the reality is playing out rather differently. The Communication Commission of Kenya CCK quarterly sector statistics report showed that whereas Safaricom's market share declined from 81% in July of 2010 to 76% in September, the number of subscribers still went up by 473,979. During the same period, Airtel's market share jumped from 9% to 14%, while the number of subscribers went up by slightly over 1 million. This reflects gains for the entire industry.
The situation seemed to be changing in last 6 months' time, right? Competition intensity has gone up, competition play has gone up, the playing field has been created by regulator by inviting more players to come in, and at the same time by lowering interconnect prices so that the community effect can be broken. And all these things have led to more consumers moving from that large player onto the smaller players, because they are finding better value there, they're finding better services there.
Mobile number portability may turn out to be the next frontier in this battle, but in the end, time will be the judge. Overall, price wars are not bad for consumers, and since they are temporary, market players might not have much to fear other than a decline in profit margins. Additionally, it would be